afternoon. We're out here on the 6th hole. It's July 30th, and we wanted to talk about a few things relative to the rain and the moisture and what you feel on the top of the surface, and then also when you hit your golf ball and you get those mud balls. And we certainly have enough people come and ask questions about why we overwater and why we water too much on the golf course and why it's always so wet. We'll skip the part about we've had about 6 inches of rain in the last 5 or 6 days, but there is something important to understand about the situation we've got going on out here right now. But before we do, we better ask Jeff. Now, it's been a couple months. How's Annabelle and Molly?
Annabelle and Molly are doing well. 7 weeks now. She's getting bigger and she's sleeping more, which is good for me.
Does she have chores yet?
No, but we're working on that.
Okay. Paper route would be good.
Paper route, yeah.
So, we're going to take a soil sample here. Jeff's got a little probe here. We're gonna go to one of these kind of brownish spots you see in the fairway.
How about this one? I'm not that light anymore.
So Jeff, is this layer right here is the layer of thatch? Why don't you just tell us what causes that and what that creates?
This is what we call thatch, and you can see I can kind of pull on it here, and you can really get an idea of how much of a layer that is. It's over an inch right there, I'd say. And what thatch is, it's uncomposed or organic matter. Undecomposed organic matter. So what decomposes organic matter is oxygen, water, microbial activity, and for us to have that, we need to have holes poked through the thatch and access for those things to get there. And we haven't aerified in a very long time, and it's not a regular thing that we do, so it's very hard for water, oxygen, microbial activity to happen. In fact, sometimes it becomes anaerobic, and you end up with a hydrophobic layer which repels water in this thatch. So we've got 6 inches of rain in the last about a week. We got 6/10 of an inch of rain yesterday, and we got 1 inch last night. And you have, Craig, feel that?
Boy, you can see this is just,
I mean, that's just dust.
This is dust. This is just absolutely dusty dry. So Jeff, on that part on the top, that's where you feel the squish in your feet, or you feel the cart run over it, or your ball if it was just a little wetter would probably plug a little bit or get a little bit of mud on it. But also what I'm curious about is we've only got a tiny bit of grass here. What do you have to do to keep this grass alive in these conditions today? It's probably about 90 degrees right now.
It's in the 90s right now, so we did get an inch of rain last night, and these spots are not currently wilting, but probably by a little bit later, another hour and a half from now, this afternoon, they will be. And we have to syringe, is what we call it, which is just giving light water. It's basically providing evaporative cooling to keep the grass cool enough so that it doesn't wilt and die. We're getting no water in the ground. If you can't get water in the ground after this much rain, you're not going to get it in the ground no matter how much you water. So this is, as you can see, bone dry right now, but if I hold this up and you look at this and I push on it, you see how it squishes? That's what you feel under your feet. That's soft. There's no water here. It's not wet. It's not overwatered. It's thatch, and it's kind of like a pad, and it's impermeable.
And so, in order to keep it alive on the top, we have to put wetting agents, and we have to put water.
Actually, today we sprayed our regular fertilizer and fungicide routine that we do about once a month on fairways here. One of the things we put in there is a wetting agent, and you'd have to. That's a good practice to follow anyway, but in this case, the wetting agent is part of what's keeping it alive. Just getting enough water into the thatch that it's allowing the grass to have something besides what's just sitting on top. There's none in the roots here, there's none in the dirt, it's just in the thatch. It's just living off of what we're getting into the thatch that'll stay there through one day. And that's why we have to water every day.
And when you water, obviously it's going to stay in that thatch part and give it that spongy kind of feel that you get when your ball lands in there.
So we generally water fairways when it's really hot like this. We won't water, even though we've got this situation, we won't water tonight or anytime soon. But when we do, if we just water for say 6 minutes, which is pretty average here, the water doesn't go in, it just sits on top. So in the morning, you might drive across this and water squishes out under your golf cart tires, but there's no water in the ground, and it's not going to go in the ground for the grass to use.
Is there, outside of aerification and wetting agents and other things we spray for, obviously you've mentioned there's some dollar spot out here now and some other things. Is there anything we can do, or is there anything maybe a member could be aware of that would help this out a little bit?
Well, the biggest thing that we need to do here is have better cultural practices, which is aerification, verticutting. Top dressing would be the next step, but we're not even close to that yet. That's just something that we haven't been very good at. We don't own the equipment for it. We haven't had the money to contract it out. So it puts us in a situation of, over many years, we've gotten to this point, and now it costs us more money because, as you can see, there's not a lot of water there. Grass can't be healthy. It causes more disease issues, more insect issues. Insects and diseases live in this thatch layer, and it harbors them, and it's a good place for them to kind of hide, and then they flare up when they're stressed, like right now when it's 90-something degrees.
So it's taken a long time to get to this state. How long would it take, and how many cycles of aerification, verticutting, top dressing would it take to get these fairways back to a healthy state? Also keeping in mind that a healthy state is not just keeping the grass healthy, but it's also allowing for a lot more drainage of the surface, because the water would go down through the drain and to drain it, and not just sit on the top of the grass, as Jeff's explained. But how long would it take? A year, 2, 3?
Well, it's something that's an ongoing process, that because the thatch is, as the grass grows, it's always producing thatch. So you can never say, well, we're just going to get rid of the thatch and then it'll be good. You would need to hit this really hard initially, do 2 or 3 aerifications a year, maybe pulling a core aerification, maybe another just solid tine aerification where we make slightly deeper holes where more water can get in the ground, and then doing a verticut, which you've seen before, where we rip the thatch out of the top. It would probably be those 3 processes several times a year for several years to just get to the point where we're catching up. And then at that point you could back down to, maybe only a couple times a year. But we're that far behind where you need to play major catch up and do a lot of this right now to get to where we need to be. Not just for a playability reason, but for a health reason. We're on the brink all the time when it gets stressful like this of having major issues, and we just kind of combat what goes on a daily basis to keep it from really blowing up.
Well, thanks for your time, Jeff, and I hope that, I hope some folks will watch this and try to maybe understand some of the things that Jeff's battling out here to try to keep it looking green, and try to maybe let your friends know why it's a little squishy when you walk on top of this mattress. So again, thanks for your time.
Thank you.